Hello, Mustang football fans, and welcome to this week's edition of the Cory Sauter Show here at Studio One, Marshall Local Cable Access. I'm your host, Kelly Loft, Athletic Communications Director at Southwest Minnesota State University. And again this week, we're going to talk Mustang football as the Mustangs coming off a loss at Winona State this past Saturday night in Winona, and we'll talk to the head coach, Cory Sauter, about that game. We'll take a look at the highlights and preview this week's game versus Concordia St. Paul here in Marshall. And Coach, a happy Halloween week to you and everyone here back watching this week's show. The Mustangs closing out the month of October with a loss to Winona State 47-20 last Saturday afternoon over in Winona. The Mustangs, as you mentioned, return home and start in November at the Regional Events Center against Concordia St. Paul. We'll talk about that one later on in the show. But Coach, we knew going in, we talked about in last week's show that Winona State, a very good football team, and they're keeping their playoff aspirations alive. They're only 2 losses to Duluth and to Minnesota State, which have a combined 1 loss. And they proved it on Saturday and really in all phases of the game, offense, defense, and special teams. And probably the most dominating performance by an opponent against your squad this season.
Well, it was. We knew going into the ball game that Winona was very talented. They have a lot of great athletes on the field, and they've got the all-time leading rusher, and the list goes on and on. But I felt we didn't play very well, and they played pretty well themselves. And when you combine those two things, that's what happens as far as score-wise. And but it was very frustrating in a lot of ways. We couldn't get anything going offensively. Defensively, we were hanging on by the skin of our teeth. I mean, the first half we were able to at least keep it close. So it was some fortunate turnovers that we created, but other than that, in the second half, they really got after us. And they're a dangerous team. I mean, they're one of the better ones in our conference, and we're not to that level yet. And to consistently play those top teams at a high level, we're not really to that caliber. We're progressing. We're working towards that. But they just were so good for so long that evening, and we couldn't hold on we couldn't keep up with them.
Well, the Mustangs fell behind 7-0 early in the first quarter behind a Simmons 4-yard touchdown run. Rayon Simmons, the all-time leading rusher in conference history. Mustangs came back, had a nice drive, 62 yards, and tied the game at 7. But the Warriors then responded with a flea flicker and got a touchdown to make it 14-7. And as you mentioned, then second quarter, able to hold on. Your defense forced a couple of turnovers, and that has been the story of the season. The offense being able to hang on to the football, and the defense creating some turnovers. Unfortunately, we just couldn't turn them over enough to take advantage and get some points.
Right. I mean, when you create 2 turnovers in the first half and not get any points out of it, not get anything really field position-wise, that was disappointing. But again, we were plus in the turnover ratio, and it was a blowout loss for us. And normally that doesn't happen. If you're in that +2 range, it's going to be fairly close, and that just goes to show how good Winona is. And they just have so many weapons on really in all phases that it's tough to play them down and down out and be competitive. But it was one of those games where we knew it was going to be a battle. We knew it was going to be a tough game to beat them on the road. But I thought we'd play much better, and this was probably our most disappointing game as far as just overall. We were really dominated in a lot of phases, and for us, we've just got to put this one behind us and move forward, because there wasn't a whole lot of good to take away from this ball game.
What was the difference, Coach, you believe that Winona did? Because your offense hasn't been shut down like that really all season long, and you played against some very good defenses in Minnesota State, Minnesota Duluth, and Wayne State. What was the difference in the contest? Because they really got to quarterback Tyler Pershong and Charlie Kern a lot more than your offense has given up sacks pretty much all season long.
Right, we basically doubled our sack output in one ball game, and we I think we had 5 or 6 going in the game. We gave up 5 sacks, and the biggest thing that I saw on the field was just their overall speed. When they blitzed, when they brought pressure, They got there in a hurry, and they combined that with some nice schemes. I mean, they did some safety blitzes at times. They created a safety off of a safety blitz, that was really the biggest thing. We couldn't hold up on the outside as far as pass protection, and they didn't miss tackles. And that's one of those things that just stands out the most in my mind is they are just well coached. They got good athletes. And just the overall team speed really made a big difference for us, and we struggled against it. And so it's just one of those things we've got to push forward and really move on and get past this one.
As some of the numbers, Mustangs held to 248 yards of offense, well over 102, almost 150 yards less than the average for the Mustangs. 80 yards rushing wise, and Mustang quarterbacks 18 of 35 passing in the contest. And we should mention that Tyler Bashawn, quarterback, did leave early in the fourth quarter with an injury, and Charlie Kern came in, first play, gets a rushing touchdown, also threw a touchdown pass in that fourth quarter. Talk about Charlie's play. It's a tough spot to come in. You've been in that situation at the high level of coming in as a backup quarterback, but that's an example of always having to be ready, because when you step in, you don't get much time to warm up. You've got to get out there and get ready to play.
No, usually you don't have a heads up of when that's going to happen, especially an injury. And Tyler has played basically every snap this season and has gotten the bulk of the work for 2012. But Charlie's a guy that just works his tail off each and every day in practice. He prepares himself mentally, you always hate to see a guy go down, especially the way it happened, and it is a little scary when you start getting those types of injuries that Pashong had. But nice thing that Kern did is he just went in there, ran our system. First play wasn't executed perfectly, but he improvised with his feet and was able to score a touchdown, and that provided a spark. Offensively, we were able to score 2 touchdowns in that fourth quarter, which was nice to see. And he's going to need to get some reps here, because he's going to be a guy that's going to be fighting for that starting job next year, and you want to be able to see what he's capable of doing. But I thought he really came in and was poised and played with confidence and made some plays both with his arm and his feet.
Some other positives from the game, injury-wise, you did return a couple of players back in the lineup. Tyler Erickson at wide receiver, who has missed time since that Minnesota Crookston game with an injury, and John Cox got in on the offensive line in the fourth quarter. And good to see those seniors get a chance to get back on the field and try to end their careers here on a positive note and get into play. And it's great to have those 2 guys back.
Right, great having our players back. We just have a lot of those that are just banged up. We're not even close to 100% right now. Our whole offensive line is pretty dinged. Our tight ends are dinged. Our receivers are dinged. Our quarterback's dinged. So it's one of those things where we're getting down to the final 2 games, and that's going to happen. And for the most part, we've been able to stay relatively healthy, but at the same time, we're not the same team as we were a month ago, just because of those things. And so it's just one of those things you got to battle through, and we'll be fine. But the key is just finishing this year, with what we set out for, and that was just to play really good, solid Mustang football, not be worried about wins and losses, but be more concerned about just improving, just getting better each and every day in practice, each and every game, and really let that be our focus and our motivation, because if you get all tied into the wins and losses, then you start to lose focus on what needs to be done on a week-to-week basis.
And I think that's definitely has been shown the last month and a half, that there has been progress every week, and beating Wayne State like you did, and putting up the points against Upper Iowa, and the double overtime loss to Minnesota State. The guys are improving each week, and had a bump in the road against Winona State. But as the saying in football goes, Coach, it's just one game, and you got to pass that along and forget about it. Now you got 2 home games. You come back home to finish off the season against opponents that have always had a very good rivalry with our program, and it should be fun on Saturday. And as you mentioned, to come home and move on from that. I want to talk about a couple of guys on the defensive side. We've mentioned them throughout the show or throughout this year, but a couple of new guys, Blake Pennick and Deshaun Miller, who had a couple of big stops on defense again. And They've really established themselves as very good linebackers on this football team and in this conference, and really making plays and kind of being the leaders on that defensive side with some big numbers.
Right. Those two guys have really helped our football program this year and helped our defense immensely. And especially anybody can have one good game or two good games, but it seems like, week in and week out, we've been mentioning those two guys all the time, and it's just good to see. Deshaun still has one more year, and then Blake still has 3 more seasons left, and so I'm really excited about not only what they've done this year, but what can be built upon for future years. And we have a nice incoming class as well of freshmen that we feel are very, very strong defensive players, and they've given us a great look on the scout team this year going against our offense, and I'm really excited to see those guys during spring football and seeing those guys emerge. And but again, that's down the road. I'm not too concerned about that. Our main focus now is to finish this season. We're playing 2 teams that I know our kids are very excited to play against. They're kind of rival teams that we've played against over the years, and so I know we're going to be pretty amped up and ready to go to play these games. But it's nice playing at home as well. The last 2, and a way for us to send these seniors out on a great note.
Again, the Mustangs fall 47-20 to Winona State this past Saturday in Winona. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from this past Saturday's game at Maxwell Field, a very tough place to play for any team. And the Mustangs, we start off here on offense on our opening drive. Or during our scoring drive, and a big draw here by Tyler Prashon picking up the first down.
Right, it's 3rd and 13, and these are tough to pick up. It was a safe call just to go with the QB draw, and ended up blocking it pretty well, and we just get enough to get the first down.
So that keeps that Mustang drive alive. Now down to the 38-yard line, and Prashon finds Cody Condon one of his 6 receptions.
Yeah, we've got a play action. We fake the inside zone, I believe, to Warren, and we get Cody sneaking across the field on a shallow cross. You can see here, good fake inside, gets the ball off, and Cody's got enough speed to get around the edge. Stiff arms, gets a late hit out of bounds, which tacks onto the play, and we get ourselves inside the 5-yard line.
The Mustangs trailing 7-0, but Prashon able to sneak across from a yard out. Pile of guys, but he is across, and the Mustangs tied up at 7 with 6 minutes to go in the first quarter. On the defensive side, Mark Schulmeyer, senior defensive end, and the bottom of your screen.
Yep, Mark does a nice job getting off the block, and then ends up making a nice ankle tackle. And it's tough bringing those guys down, that's for sure, but he did a nice job there.
And we talked about Deshaun Miller. He's at the bottom of your screen, number 31, and he'll have a sack here to force a Winona State punt.
Yeah, he's actually lined up as a defensive end in this package, and you'll see him, I believe, is he on the left-hand side? Yep, there he is on the left-hand side. Coming off inside, it's a sprint out, so he really shouldn't get there right away, and he ends up following through a lane and ends up wrapping him up for a nice sack.
End of the first quarter, Mustangs trail 14-7, and a guy that's really played well the last few weeks has been Ben Peterson, and he gets the initial hit in the backfield, and Adam Iverson and company clean up.
Yeah, Ben's one of our seniors. He has really emerged, as you mentioned, and does a nice job shedding blocks and using his hands, and does a nice job here, gets off and makes a nice hit to stop his momentum, and everyone else is there to end up getting the ball carrier down.
You'll see number 3 Tate Bunkers coming in on the safety blitz, and Joe Stupka, number 1, with the pass breakup.
Yeah, it's just how you draw it up. You get your safety down. We want to disguise as much as possible, but you can see him trickling down here on the left side of your screen, and he's going to time it up through that A gap, gets off the block of the running back and forces pressure, and then Stupka's right there to make the play. Just a nice overall defensive play.
Winona driving, and then Donovan Woods, younger player on the team, redshirt freshman, forces the fumble, and Adam Iverson recovers.
And again, this was a huge turnover. It prevents points. Winona was able to move the ball consistently in that first half and really the entire game, but this was critical for us to prevent them from getting in the end zone.
Deep in the Mustang, their own territory. Big completion on third down, Pashon to Abe Koss.
Yep, and here's just a new concept that we ran this week. We haven't shown it all year, and it ended up working out for us. But you can see real good pass protection, wide open, gets upfield, just how you draw it up.
Mustangs will be forced to punt. Winona comes down, but again, another fumble. This time, Joe Stuka there to pounce on the loose ball.
This one, and just very fortunate, the running back just loses the handle on the ball, and good thing we were right there to make the play. But again, you need to get a few of these go your way over the course of a season, over the course of a ball game, and that's what allowed us to stay in the ball game. You know, it's 14-7 at halftime, and it could have easily been 28-7, or you know somewhere in that range.
Correct. So the Mustangs trail 14-7. Start out the third quarter, and Blake Pennick and Mark Schulmeyer combining here for a sack, and just a great job by the Mustang defensive line.
Yep, you can see it. It's kind of a broken play. I'm not sure if it was supposed to be a draw or an option to throw or pass, but you know, we were right there to make the play, and it was good to wrap them up.
And then Schulmeyer forces the quarterback out of the pocket, and the Mustangs were able to make a hit and get another sack, an intentional grounding.
Right, you can see Schulmeyer, he ends up twisting inside to create the initial pressure, and then Lefso's there to make the play and force them to get an intentional grounding.
Here we go on later on in the quarter. They try to reverse. The receiver has the ball, and Blake Pennick stayed home and then gets the sack here as he tackles Spear in the backfield.
Right, and Winona's known for trying gadget plays. I mean, they're usually going to dial up 2 or 3 of these a ball game, and they've got the athletes to do it. But here we're at home, we're playing good coverage, and we ended up making a big play on it.
4th and 7, Mustangs back on offense, and Pashon finds Abe Cross for a gain of 15, number 5.
Yep, coming across the middle, again, takes a hit. I mean, he's just a tough kid. He knows he's going to get hit on a lot of these crossing routes, and he's a kid that's been a little bit dinged up these past couple weeks, but like I said, he's not going to miss a game for anything, and he's a guy that we're going to miss.
Well, we go into the 4th quarter, and here's the first play of the drive for Charlie Kern, number 7, and he'll scramble off for the touchdown run, just like he called it up.
Exactly. We got the backs going one way, quarterback going the other, and he just has an amazing ability to use his legs. He's got tremendous speed, and he actually had Condon open, but did the safe play by running it in.
Mustangs trail 30-13 following a missed 2-point try, and here's Graham Kettling, our true freshman, forcing the pressure, and Donovan Woods breaking it up. So again, these younger players getting some big snaps in big games.
Yep, well, Graham coming in the inside gap, he splits the 2 defenders, gets in the backfield to force the throw a little bit before the quarterback's ready, and we ended up getting a nice pass breakup.
Warriors finished that drive with a field goal, and here's Warren Matthews, one of his biggest runs of the day.
Yeah, we didn't have too many creases, and this is one of the small ones, and you can see here it isn't a very big crease, so we ended up sneaking through there, but it was tough going on the ground, just the way they played their scheme.
And the Mustangs cap off this drive. T.J. Dean on the double move for a 21-yard touchdown pass at the top of your screen.
Yep, you can see here Charlie scrambling to his right a little bit and makes a good, strong throw, and good to see our offense respond with our backup quarterback coming in. And we're going to need both those guys ready to play, because you just never know, and that's really all positions. You got to have your starters, backups, everyone ready to play, and just a good example of a guy that took advantage of an opportunity.
Yeah, and that was a very tight window to throw that ball into, and Kern delivered it. The Mustangs got the touchdown, but the Warriors would attack on another score and make the score 47-20. So the Mustangs dropped to 3-6 on the season, and as we mentioned, will host Concordia St. Paul at 1 o'clock, an afternoon start at the Regional Event Center this Saturday. Again, 1 o'clock kickoff. The final 2 games will be starting at 1 o'clock here in November. So the Mustangs and the Golden Bears matching up. A couple other notes from the ball game. Cody Condon, 6 catches, 61 yards. That led the way for Southwest receiving-wise. Rushing-wise, Gannon Moore just 31 yards rushing. Charlie Kern had 25, and Warren Matthews with 17 on 9 carries, and we just saw 12 of those on the 1 carry, so it shows how difficult it was for the Mustangs to run against that very good Winona State defense. So again, Coach, again, it's just one game. We've talked about that. Now you get home, take on the Concordia University Golden Bears, a team that has had some success offensively. They're a top offense team just like your squad is, and on the defensive side of the football, they've got some special players. They've always had some very good athletes, and there's a couple of very good players on that defensive line that have got some incredible numbers. Talk about the challenges that the Golden Bears bring up this Saturday here in Marshall.
Well, they're an explosive team just all around. I mean, they got some athletes that are just phenomenal. You look at their receivers. They got some guys that can just flat out run. It's almost like backyard football for them. I mean, they're throwing up some balls, and they've got the athletes to make plays. Same thing on defense. Their defensive line is about as good as they come in this conference. They've got a defensive end, number 90, Moore, who is a big kid, about 285 pounds, 6'6", ton of sacks, ton of pressures. He is going to be a tough kid to stop. Along next to him is one of the better defensive tackles in the conference. So you put those two guys, they create a lot of pressure with that. And they do like to play man coverage. They do like to bring pressure, but they've got the guys to do it. And they've had a lot of close ball games this year, very similar to us. I mean, they lost to Northern by 1 point. They lost to Augie by a touchdown or 8 points. They've had a lot of close ball games that they've been on the short end of, and so they're a team that could easily have 2-3 more wins. We're a team that could easily have 2-3 more wins. So really, it's going to be a pretty even ball game, or at least I hope it's going to be a pretty even ball game. We've got to play well. We've got to make some big plays over the stretch of the game, and it'll be fun. I know our kids are excited about it. I think we've got a natural rivalry built in from over the years, and I really believe that our kids are going to be ready to play.
And we promise that we'll have just as many fireworks as last season's game. Of course, last year at the Metrodome, a game that was 60-53 and a lot of offense put up, and that was kind of the perfect day just because it was in the dome, very easily to throw the football that particular game. I'm sure that won't be the case this Saturday as well, but it's always an exciting games we take on the Golden Bears, and last year was one of them, and a lot of the same players are back, especially for the Mustang side of the football.
Yeah, no, it's every year's a different story, but no, that was definitely a memorable game that really brings back some good and bad memories. Obviously, we didn't find a way to win it, but we did a lot of great things offensively, and we're a different team this year in the fact that I believe to think that our defense is much better than what they showed last year, and so our whole goal is to make them earn everything. We don't want to give them any cheap touchdowns, any one-play, two-play drives. We want to make sure that if they're going to score, it's going to take them some time to do it, and they're going to have to earn it. And same thing offensively, we're going to have to make some big plays because they're going to take some risks. They're going to play some cover zero, they're going to blitz, and there's going to be some opportunities to have some balls down the field that our guys are going to have to come up with.
Yeah, it should be a fun game. Again, the Mustangs would love to have your support. We've had great support all season long, and it should be a beautiful Saturday afternoon at the stadium. 1 o'clock kickoff between the Mustangs and the Golden Bears from the Regional Event Center. Well, I want to say thank you for watching this week's episode of the Cory Sauter Show. For the head coach, Cory Sauter, I'm Kelly Loft. And until next time, make sure and keep up with the Mustangs right here on the website, smsumustangs.com. And we want to thank everybody here at Studio One, Marshall Local Cable Access, for getting this show on, and we appreciate their support. And thank you for watching online and on local cable as well. Until next week, remember to cheer on the Mustangs. Go Mustangs!